This is a beginner's guide for Palworld. I'm going to show you how everything works in this game so you can get started. First, you need to decide if you want to play single player or if you want to play single player with friends or if you want to join a full-blown multiplayer server which can have up to 32 people, at least for the official ones. But for this tutorial, we're going to do a normal game. So you would start a game and you would create a new world, confirm, change the difficulty, and you go to custom settings and change all these different settings any way that you want. And then on top of that, you also have multiplayer on and off. Now, if you want to play with friends, this will let you do up to 4 people if you do it like this, and the host PC will host the game, and it uses a lot of your CPU and stuff like that, or GPU, whatever, in order to host the game. So make sure whoever you're going to play with, let the person with the beefiest computer host the game that's going to do the multiplayer session. Once you're actually in-game on a multiplayer session in your single-player world, if you want to invite your friends, go to the Options tab, hit Tab to go to all this inventory stuff, go to the Options tab. There's an invite code here, you can copy and paste it to them, and in the main menu, the third option down is Join Multiplayer, parentheses code or something like that. Go to that, put the code in, join, and it should throw you into the multiplayer world that someone's playing on. But for the rest of the tutorial, I'm going to focus on single player, okay? And now, if you're on multiplayer, you'll be able to choose a starting location, but if you're on single player or the single player multiplayer thing with up to 4 people, you'll start right here at Plateau of Beginnings. So you just want to start here on multiplayer 2 if you want to follow along with that, but it's not really going to be super relevant. So these are fast travels. You'll find these throughout the world. Whenever you unlock them, it'll give you a technology point, and then you'll be able to fast travel to different points on the map. You also get technology points from leveling up, which you can level up by catching pals and also by defeating pals and defeating bosses and various other things like gathering and crafting. So also on the right over here is your player level. You'll also have stat points down here. You can enhance your stats and add like that. Hit the plus sign, hit OK in order to permanently add stats to your character. The technology tab is where you're going to spend those technology points you get from leveling in order to get more things to craft and make in this game. The crafting and the technology is a huge part of the progression in this game, and we'll touch more on this in a little bit. The first thing you want to do is look for wood on the ground like this and stones, or you can just go ahead and find a tree. And you can actually just punch a tree in order to get your starting wood, and then you can also punch a certain type of stone in order to get your stone. Stone outcrops will look something like this, and you can, in the beginning, just punch these, and it'll eventually give you stone. Now, by default, B at the bottom, what you can see at the hotkey for it, B will open up the build menu, and in the beginning, you won't have much, but you'll have this primitive workbench. Now, it uses 2 wood in order to make this. You're going to stick one of these down, use that wood that you gathered in order to make it. Then you're also right out of the gate at level 1, you're going to have the stone pickaxe and the stone axe. You'll need 5 stone and you'll need 5 wood for each of these. So go around and punch rocks and punch trees till you have 10 stone and 10 wood so you can make each of these tools. Once you have those materials, press F on this by default to select recipe and go ahead and pick the stone pickaxe, for example, and hit bottom right, you hit start production, just make 1, and then hold F in order to do the work. Make the stone pickaxe, press F again to pick it up. And then do the same thing for the stone axe. Now, it should automatically put them in your inventory, but if it doesn't, it should automatically equip them, but if it doesn't, you can go to your inventory and you can drag them from over here over to your weapon slots in order to equip them over here. Once they're equipped, right now in the game, the only way to change through them is to scroll wheel on your mouse. So if you're playing on a laptop with a laptop pad, it's going to get real weird. You might want to use a mouse. So scrolling through up and down will get through all your weapons. Now you're able to take your pickaxe and hit the stone outcrop with the pickaxe in order to get a lot more stone a lot faster. And you can use the hatchet on the trees to do the exact same thing. And now you can get stone and wood way faster. Now at some point you're going to level up. And when you do, you're going to want the Pal Sphere unlock and the Pal Box unlock. Both these are going to be extremely helpful. Once you have the Pal Sphere unlocked, you can make it at the primitive workbench. You'll need wood, stone, but you'll also need Paldium fragments. You can find Paldium fragments on the ground while just running around, just pick them up like this. But ideally, you're going to want to find Paldium outcrops like this and use your pickaxe on them in order to get Paldium fragments much faster. You might have to run for a bit to get those, so once you have, you can always just go ahead and make another primitive workbench somewhere else in order to make those Pal Spheres. Once you have all the ingredients, click Pal Sphere and make as many as you want to make. You can hit max or use these arrow keys to make as many as you want, and hit start workload or start production, and then hold F in order to craft them. Then press F to acquire them, and you are ready to go. So what you have to do by default is hold Q in order to get ready to throw, or just tap Q to throw immediately at one of the pals in the world like this. But before you do, you probably want to weaken them, which you can do by just swinging on them with one of your weapons like this. You can actually make actual weapons, but you can just use the pickaxe to start. Once you get them low, press Q to throw the Pal Sphere at them. And if you get them weak enough and they're low enough level, you can easily just catch them like that. You can also find pal spheres on the ground like I just picked up right there. They randomly spread out and randomly generated all over the map. Once you captured a pal, you can open up your inventory and go to the party tab to see it. Now, I already have a full party because I'm later on in the game, but if that was your first one, it'll just put it in the top slot. It'll go right there. In order to throw out a pal, the default key is E, and it'll throw out whatever pal you have. At the bottom left, you'll see a UI when you do that to show your pals. It pops up for just a second. You can press number 1 and number 3 on your keyboard to swap between the pals. And then you can press E to swap to a different one. It'll bring it back and then throw the other one. If you have it set to the same one as the one you currently have out, then you can just press E and it'll just bring it away. Press E to throw it out. But if you swap to a different one and press E, it'll pull it in and then throw the other one out. Once you have a pal out, you can hold number 4 on your keyboard to bring up this, which will let you pet the pal. It'll let you feed it. You can do emotes, and you can command it to attack everything nearby. You can command it to attack whatever you attack. And you command it to just sit passively and just watch while you fight things and never get involved. If you want to do one of these, by the way, it's left click in order to select it. Pals are going to be your main way to fight enemies in this game. You can get good equipment that'll let you do a lot of damage too, but generally the pals will always do way more damage than you do. It's also really important that I mention this right now before I forget. You have to feed your pals periodically, and you can take foods like berries or meat that you find from defeating other pals and things. You can, when you have food, you right click on the food, it'll show you, and it'll show all of your pals, and then you just left click from here to use that food, like these berries, in order to fill back up the food bar of your pals or for yourself. This one was really confusing for me, and it took me a while to figure out when I first started up this game, so I really wanted to, this was really worth a moment to stop and mention this. So now it's time to make your first base. So like I said, at level 2 you unlock the PAL box. You're going to want to get that. That's how you make your first base. At first you can only have one. Later on you'll be able to have more as you upgrade your base. So what you do is you press B to build, and you go to the PAL tab at the top by scroll wheeling through these, or Q and E to go through these, and then click on the PAL box. Now I can't place one right now because I've already have the maximum down, but you'll just build one of these. It's 1 Paldium fragment, 8 wood, and 3 stone, which is very easy to get. The PAL box will look like this. Has a few different options. If you press F on it by default, it'll open the PAL box management menu where you can go in here. It's kind of like the storage box from Pokemon games, and you'll take your pals and you'll put them away in storage, or you'll take them out of storage into your party so you can fight with them and use their special abilities. There's also at the bottom pals at the base. At first you'll only have one. As you upgrade your base, you'll get more and more of these slots, and what you'll do is you'll drag one of these from here down into here, and that will let you put them at your base like that. And each one has different skills that can help for different things in the base, which will be a little bit more important later on as we get through this. But real quick, you can go to your party to see, or you can go from the other page I was on to see all of them. There's work suitability at the bottom right. There's kindling, watering, planting, generating electricity, handiwork, gathering, lumbering, mining, medicine production, cooling, transporting, and farming. So make sure that your pal that you're putting in your base has the skill you want for what you're trying to do. For example, a little bit later on, you'll get berry farming or whatever this is. It's I forget what the actual thing is called. Berry plantation, I think. And what berry plantations will do is it'll let you grow berries, so you don't have to keep getting food for your pals, and then you can put it into a feed box, which is something, both these are things that you unlock in technology. There's the feed box, there's the berry plantation, level 5 you have all this. And so for the berry plantation, you have to have a pal that has the watering skill, and you also have to have a pal that has the planting skill. So if you go in here to the PAL box management, you'll see this one over at the right. I can't show you the mouse, but it has that little green icon that has a 2 next to it. That's planting or seeding, whatever it's called. You can also at the bottom right press F to view more details, and then you can actually see it has planting level 2. But that's not enough to get through that. After you plant them, you have to water them, which is why I have this guy, for example. And this guy has watering level 1. So between both of those, they'll be able to actually plant and then water the berry. So you have to keep in mind that type of stuff when managing your base with the pals, or else they're not going to do the tasks that you want. You can also fast travel from a base to any of the fast travels or to your other bases, which is really good to know, very helpful. And the last thing here is base upgrade, which is V by default, and this is really important. So if you go to base upgrade, it'll show you things you need to build in order to upgrade your base. And as you upgrade your base level, you'll be able to unlock more pals that can work at the base at a time, and you'll increase the maximum number of bases that you can have at a single time. So go through here and make whatever it says. These almost always involve going to technology, unlocking certain ones of these technologies and then building them, like the ranch, the berry plantation, whatever it asks for, and then you have to get the materials, and then you have to go and make the ranch, for example, the ranch and the plantation, or the feed box and the something, whatever it's asking you to do to get through those levels. Definitely do that to level up your base. At some point, it'll have you make a primitive furnace, by the way. And this is the only part where it starts to be a little bit confusing. I want to make sure I point this one out, because the primitive furnace is something that you'll end up building in order to make metal ingots. You'll have to go get ore. You'll find outcrops that look like this, and these will give you ore. But then you need to take the ore and take it to the primitive furnace in order to make ingots. And the reason I'm pointing all this out is because you can't actually smelt these ingots on your own. In order to smelt the ingots, you have to have a pal that can do it. So the furnace can only be done with a pal that has the kindling skill. So one of the easiest ones to catch early on is a fox parks, but anything that is fire probably will have the skill that you want. It's called kindling right here. If you have that, then make sure to go to your base, go to the pal box management menu, and drag in at least one here that has the kindling skill. And then when they can, they'll come over and they'll blow fire into the furnace in order to convert the ore into ingots. And that's something I really want to point out, because that one can be very confusing if you don't realize what's going on. Other than that, you know, it's pretty straightforward to figure it out. You just keep getting technology, you keep gathering materials, you keep slowly working your way up the technology tree, getting new things, making new things. Eventually we'll be making nails out of the ingots, using nails to make benches, and it just gets more and more complex. But, you know, you work your way up, and it should get pretty straightforward after that initial part I just showed you. Now, one thing you may notice when going through these technology trees is you'll see these unknown item slots like this. And what that is that there's a pal that you haven't caught yet, and there's some type of item you can craft related to them. For example, very early on, there's a Fox Parks harness, which lets you hold this Fox Parks like a flamethrower. It basically unlocks the ultimate ability for certain ones of these pals. So every pal has the equivalent of an ultimate ability. So if I take this guy, he has ultrasonic sensor, which I forget what resource it is that it shows, but he detects something. So I can press F, and he'll do this scan that looks around for, I forget what, it literally tells me in this thing. I can go to him, and you can see what it does over here. When activated, uses ultrasonic waves to detect the location of nearby pals. So I don't know if those are even implemented yet. It doesn't seem to really work super well. Maybe I'm just missing something, but, you know, that's just one example of a skill. The Fox Parks, once I have the saddle, I can hold F and do Huggy Fire, which lets me use them like a flamethrower and damage nearby enemies. I can also F to cancel, and then it has a huge cooldown. You have to wait for it in the bottom. So there's all sorts of things you can unlock. All of these things are made at the Pal Gear workbench, which was unlocked in the technology tree, and they'll use various resources. A lot of these resources will come from the enemies themselves. So this one, you have to actually kill a bunch of those in order to get more catch a bunch of them, and they'll drop the horns that you need for those. The calamaris drop venom glands, I think, and then, you know, use those in their craft. Pal fluids come from water tames or water pals, and, you know, you get those in order to make this. So, you know, you just got to go out, you got to hunt a bunch of things, you either capture them or just kill them, and then you'll get the materials, and then that plus basic materials like cloth, paladin fragments, you know, ingots, whatever else, in order to make these things. Eventually you'll have mounts. Some of them are special abilities, some of them are mounts. I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, but Ichthadir, or however you pronounce it, is one of the really good mounts, like basically like equivalent of a horse. And then other than that one, there's a bunch of others that are all really good for a bunch of different things. But another good one is Nightwing, which is one of the first flying mounts that you'll get. You can hold spacebar to go up, but when you run out of stamina, you'll come down. Then you can fly around until you're out of stamina, or you can hold left control to descend. Another very helpful mount to get, but this one will take a little bit longer to get, maybe level 15 or something. I can't remember. I think it was level 15 to get the saddle for this one. So there's a bunch of things like that you'll unlock in the technology tree, but you got to catch the pals first in order to see all the unknown items. This one has an assault rifle, for example. I'm not even to it yet, but way down here, there's the... There he is. The Relaxosaurus' missile launcher. That's what his special ability is. You got to give him a missile launcher. So there's a lot of fun things to unlock like that. So now you might be wondering, how do you level up fast so you can get those technologies unlocked? And one of the most basic ways to do that is to craft a ton of those pal spheres that we mentioned earlier on in this video, and then go run around and weaken enemies and throw pal spheres at them and catch them. The first 10 that you catch of every pal will give bonus XP, and it's proportional to your level. So this one you see at the bottom middle right, it says XP bonus 2000. So you'll get a ton of bonus XP. If you're level like 5, that might give you 100 XP. If you're level 28, it'll give you 2,000. So it all scales to your level. So you just need to go around and catch 10 of every single pal, basically, in order to level up. And that'll get you to level up faster than just about anything. Also, while we're on the topic of pals, something to keep in mind, you can open your inventory with tab, and I never explained it was tab to open it, by the way, but tab to open the inventory. And you can go to the PAL deck to look at pals that you've encountered. And you can click on one, and there's a habitat button. And you'll be able to look around for where their habitats are. Now, if it says habitat unknown, that usually means that it's found in a dungeon instead, which dungeons can be found around the world. Some of them can be marked. For example, well, Rain Syndicate Tower is not really a dungeon, but if you go to Rain Syndicate Tower entrance, there'll be this black hole in a cave wall. There'll be a dungeon there. It resets every few hours. There's one right where my crosshair is right now, for example. You can run around and find dungeons. You can also find unique enemies in there you haven't seen before. There's bosses around the map, like world bosses, and they'll give you some XP. They're not really worth the time too much, but they're also another way that you can get XP once you've caught a ton of the pals and there's not very many left to go around. Then after that, it's pretty much just explore the map. There's also little green effigy statues you'll find. You'll turn those into a statue of power to make it so you catch pals more easily. And then it's time to just explore, catch pals, find the ones you like, find ultimate abilities that you really like on them and different stats and different skills. You can find skill fruits to use, which I haven't really messed around with too much, but it's pretty straightforward. And that's about it. Go around and play the game. It's like Pokemon or something mixed with Tears of the Kingdom, mixed with Ark. And it's pretty fun. You'll also get these gold coins, by the way, from various things in the game. And there's some shops in the game. Something real fast there is you can go down to the small settlement right here on the map. And that's one guaranteed place I know of that has some shops where you can buy and sell things in order to get more gold or to spend the gold on items or to buy some random pals, depending on what they have in stock. A lot of things in this game reset daily, as in-game daily, so however many hours that is, minutes, whatever a day is in this game. So keep that in mind too. Oh, and one last thing that I should mention, I thought it might go without mentioning, but I should just say real fast. You go up to a cliff wall and jump, and you'll be able to climb it just like in Tears of the Kingdom at the cost of your stamina, which is one reason why early on it's nice to have a little bit of levels into stamina, but it starts to matter less later on once you have flyers and different mounts and things that you can use to circumvent that. There's also gliding once you get a glider unlocked, and some pals can be used as a glider in order to have a better glider. I hope I mentioned everything that there is to know about the beginning of the game. Everything else, hopefully, you'll find along the way, and you won't need me to explain. It kind of takes the fun out if I explain everything to the mid and late game. But that's everything in the early game and all the mechanics that I can think of how they work. Hopefully, I get you a good head start. Hopefully, now you have a better idea of how to do all the things and how to play Palworld.